It's time for another exciting edition of the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. Stay tuned as we discuss local and national sports from Southeast Missouri and beyond. And now, without further ado, let's get on with the show. The Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle is brought to you by Royal Retros. If you like cool throwback jerseys of defunct sports teams, Royal Retros is the place to buy. If you go to royalretros.com and you order with the code SportsDesk, all one word, you can get a little bit off your order. So check out Royal Retros. And now on with the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
And welcome back to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. I'm Mike Bueller.
I'm Mark Sanders.
And it's Kyle Roberts.
And we have got a very full and exciting show this week. We are going to be talking about the St. Louis Cardinals, who seem to have gotten their mojo back, other than the fact they got boat raced last night. We're going to talk a little bit about Cameron Meisner. He got a little bit of bad news earlier this week, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We're also going to talk about the St. Louis Blues doing their rebrand that they announced on Tuesday. They're going to have new jerseys this fall. And we're going to talk some basketball because the NBA draft started last night and the NBA Finals wrapped up on Sunday night, after our last show taped. And we are going to have a special guest this week. We are going to have James Gladney on the show. Lee James is the brother of former Car Trophy winner Jimmy Gladney, and he is also the grandfather of Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison. So this is going to be a fun show. But on that note, we're going to get it going, and we're going to lead off talking about the St. Louis Cardinals.
The Cardinals have almost pulled off what I said they needed to pull off with this 7-game home series. Would have preferred a sweep of Cincinnati, but I'll take 2 out of 3. And then we've also taken 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. We really need to win today's game. It's an afternoon game, so it's going to be 127 degrees down on the grass at Busch Stadium the 3rd this afternoon. I cannot imagine playing baseball in this heat. I can imagine even less being a spectator sitting in the sun with heat indexes approaching 110 degrees here in Missouri today. Anybody who doesn't believe in global warming has never been in swamp East Missouri in June and July.
It is miserable. Like, it's absolutely miserable. And playing a 2 o'clock first pitch at Busch with that sun. You know what? And also sitting in those seats and having that sun just beat on you. Plus you got those red seats on your back. Oh.
Yeah, it's nightmarish. But we've got Palante going against Imanaga, and I think he has a pretty good. It's just an average record 3.2, but he's got an ERA of 2.82 and a WHIP score of 1.1. So looks like he is going to be pretty formidable on the mound against the Cardinals. More bad news for the Redbirds from an offensive point of view. Imanaga's road ERA is a minuscule 1.19. So he's really stingy on the road. So chalk this up as a loss. He's a left-hander. The Cardinals can't hit lefties.
Yeah. We're terrible against lefties.
Yes, have been for a long, long time. So, we'll see what happens. Splitting the series doesn't do us any good in terms of the standings because 2-2 is just status quo. Now, if we win 3 out of 4, we can pull within 2.5 games of the Cubs. Again, while we weren't paying attention, the Brewers have been winning at the same pace as the Cardinals. Both teams are 7-3 in their last 10 games, while the Cubs, thanks to their 2 losses in the first part of this series, are just 5-5. So the Brewers and the Cardinals are actually putting a little bit of pressure on the Cubs right now. We'll see how that plays out. At this point in the season, it's too late to say that anything is over for sure. I still feel like by the end of the season, the Cubs will very comfortably win the National League Central. But it is fun to see how things are playing out right now. The Brewers are currently sitting in the second wild card position, with the Padres and Giants tied for the third spot, and the Cardinals just a half game out of that third spot. So as we get a little bit closer to the All-Star break, every game is important for the Cardinals. We need to be winning series. We need to be playing at a 6-6-7 pace and taking 2 out of every 3 games. Looking ahead, after today's scorching afternoon game, we get to travel to Cleveland for 3 against the Guardians this weekend, and taking a look at the AL Central. Cleveland is currently 2 games above 500 at 40-38, but a whopping 8.5 games behind Detroit, who, glory be, the Detroit Tigers have the best record in the American League.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a series that we should win easily against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That is a road series, but we do have Fedde, Palante, and Gray scheduled to pitch in that series. You have to win all 3 against Pittsburgh, because after that, it is 3 at Wrigley against Chicago. That'll take us through the July 4th weekend, and the following week we're back at home for 3 against Washington, and then 3 against Atlanta. So we end up with a couple of 3-game series against the NL East, and then it is All-Star break time. So still a couple of weeks until the break. So we got to finish strong. I think it's really important for the Cardinals to finish strong going into the All-Star break.
I agree. I mean, they need to win.
Go ahead,
And
Mike.
even if they
Just wanted to point
win
out
the
right
Central,
now
they
how
still got
much
a
of a
shot at
log
winning
jam.
the, getting the wild card.
Okay, I'm gonna since I'm in charge of the tech today, I'm gonna have to play moderator. Mike, repeat what you said, please.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that, yeah, I mean, it's very important, because the Cardinals, even if they don't win the Central, they're still in the hunt for the wild card.
Yeah, Kyle, your thoughts?
Because there's such a log jam in terms of teams competing for wild card spots, as the NL standings sit right now, Cardinals have got to continue to win the majority of their series. And right now, where they're 3.5 back, however, you go look at the wild card standings right now, they'd be sitting behind the Mets right now, who are a half game behind the Phillies, and the Brewers are up on us, and we're right in there with the Padres and the Giants and Arizona and the Reds. It's a huge logjam, so we've got to break out and start winning the majority of these series and stay consistent with it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Mike, you've got some less than, I guess, some disappointing news from the American League East this week.
Yes, Cameron Meisner was sent back to AAA earlier this week. He got his break earlier in the season because of some injuries, and now these injured guys are getting healthy, and that kind of left him the odd man out. It may not be the worst thing for Meisner, who has been in a really big slump pretty well since the end of April, and this could give him a chance to work on his swing and, maybe kind of get his mojo back and play a little bit, which would be great. Because, he came out of the gate on fire, but he has really struggled a lot in May and June. The good thing about Meisner is that he has been very much a second half hitter during his minor league career. This could be good for him. It could give him a chance to really kind of kick it up a notch down there and make it back to the big show before the season ends.
Well, and right now the Rays are just sitting a game behind the Yankees in the American League East, and they are sitting atop the AL wild card race, 3.5 games up on Toronto for that top spot. So when major league teams are allowed to expand their rosters at the end of the season going into the playoffs, if he is back on the upswing down in AAA, the fact that he has already performed well for the team, if he can show that he can get his stroke back at the plate, I think he stands a very good chance of being one of these end-of-the-season call-ups.
I agree, and who knows if he gets hot enough or they have an injury or two, it could happen before then. But, we will see. And on that note, we are going to take a quick break and come back with James Gladney, and then after that, we're going to talk some St. Louis Blues and talk some NBA. You are listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk. This is Mark Sanders, and I have with me on the line all the way from Maryland, James Gladney. And he is going to be talking to us about an exciting event that's coming up here in Poplar Bluff. He represents the Washington, D.C., Maryland chapter of the Southeast Missouri Civic and Social Club, and they are having a big event coming up on the 4th of July weekend. Mr. Gladney, thank you for joining us today.
How you doing, Mark? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we're having a great time here. So tell us about your organization and what you're going to be doing coming up in just a couple of weeks here in Poplar Bluff.
Well, as you know, the CMO Civic and Social Club has been in existence. This will be our 56th year of holding this event consecutively. And like I said, it started in 1966 by a guy named Mr. Alan Magnus. And Mr. Van E. Murphy, they were among the group. And it started out, as far as classmates and things like that. And people were getting together only on funerals and things. And so what they decided to do was, listen, let's get together and have this reunion every year. And from 1966 all the way to 2025, we have been going strong with this. Now, we missed a couple years due to the fact of COVID. It would have been 60 years, actually. But we missed a couple of years because of COVID, so that stopped a lot of people from traveling, as you know, during that time.
Certainly.
But we were excited to host the event. And I guess going forward, our main focus is to keep it in Poplar Bluff from here, from here on out. And what we used to do is move it around to different states and different cities and things like that. So we just came to a conclusion to say, listen, let's just leave this at home. A lot of the members are getting older. You got the younger generation that took over. Not saying that I'm a spring chicken, but younger than some of the members that are in the organization. Because you got some members as old as 95 years old.
Oh wow, that's really impressive. Now you yourself are a graduate of Poplar Bluff High School. You're a Poplar Bluff native. Grew up here, correct?
That's correct. Born and raised.
All right, and you also have a brother, Jimmy Gladney, who is notable for being one of the winners of the Bus Car Award for the outstanding high school football player in all of Southeast Missouri.
Absolutely. He actually was the first football player from Poplar Bluff to win that.
Oh, that is terrific. I'll tell you a little story. One of my friends in grade school was a kid named Jimmy Vernon. He's gone on to be one of the golf professionals here at Westwood Hills Country Club. But Jimmy's grandfather was Bus Carr, and so when we were in grade school together, I used to ride bikes with Jimmy over to his grandpa Carr's apartment there on Main Street. So the man was quite a legend back in the day.
Oh, absolutely. I remember Mr. Bus.
So looking ahead, you've got looks like a mixer at the AAD Grotto on July 3rd. That begins at 7. On July 4th, you've got a picnic from noon to 5 at the historic Wheatley School, followed by a game night in the same location. And then back to the AAD Grotto on July 5th for a dance. Now, one of the other sports tie-ins that we have is that Eddie Moss is going to be in attendance and is going to be one of your keynote speakers. Tell us a little bit about Eddie's involvement.
Well, Eddie, like I said, Eddie has always came to the events, especially, being in Poplar Bluff. So, and what we decided to do with Eddie is also have him as the guest speaker and also give him a Lifetime Achievement Award. So we got 5 awards to give out as far as the Lifetime Achievement Awards. And we have a Mothers of the Bluff Award. So some of the elderly women or older women that's been involved in this organization as long as they've been doing. So we're going to acknowledge them also.
Okay. That looks like it's going to be a really exciting event. I know that looking at the upcoming events that a payment deadline has passed, but if anyone missed that, will you be accepting payments at the door for these events?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We definitely want people to come out, show their faces, meet and greet, enjoy the good time. Like I said, this has been going on for 56 years, and we're so excited to bring this thing into fruition and to be able to host it in Poplar Bluff.
Yeah, and that's something that we here in Poplar Bluff always like is when current residents and also former residents can gather for something like this. So it sounds like it's going to be a great event to help mark the Independence Day holiday.
Absolutely.
Lee, before we let you go, this isn't a big secret. We've mentioned it on this podcast before, but you have a fairly famous grandson, wide receiver Jordan Addison of my favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. Anyone who listens to this podcast knows I love the Vikings, and I talk about Jordan a lot. Don't want to get in trouble with the Vikings PR organization or the NFL, so let me just ask you a really general question.
Sure.
How is Jordan feeling about himself, about where he is physically, and how he feels going into his third season there in Minnesota?
Well, right, as speaking with Jordan the other day, like I said, he's very excited about this year coming up. He's just a third-year player, but he's really made a tremendous impact on that Viking organization with him and Justin Jefferson, possibly the best duo receivers in the league at this point in time.
I agree.
I'm not being biased, but I'm looking at the stats and looking at the notes on everything, and they're pretty dynamic. They're pretty dynamic.
Yeah, and hopefully with tight end T.J. Hawkinson coming back fully healthy after that knee injury, and then heard a lot of news from OTAs and mini camps that Jalen Naylor is looking pretty buff. It looks like he's really bulked up in the weight room in the off season.
Oh, absolutely. They're looking pretty good. Like I said, I've been following Jordan. Okay, as I was indicating, I spoke with Jordan. He said they're looking good out there. I mean, the dynamics and the connection with him and JJ McCarthy and Justin. He said the whole team just they look solid. So they're looking to have a tremendous year this season. Hopefully, we can get to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's certainly the hope of every Vikings fan. So we'll be looking forward to that. All right. Thank you very much for joining us today. Again, coming up on July 4th weekend, that is the SEMO Civic and Social Club. And thanks to Lee James Gladney for joining us today.
Hey, Mark, thanks a lot, man. And look forward to seeing you at the events.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Take care, Mark.
And we are back on the sports desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. And now we are going to talk about the St. Louis Blues. They announced a rebrand Tuesday where they have updated their logo, and they are going to be breaking out new sweaters for the upcoming season. And they're basically going back to the future. And Mark and Kyle, I'm going to let you guys go on that.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at what is posted on the Blues Facebook page. I like the change in the typography and the logos. The new Blue Note is like the classic Blue Note from their expansion days. The little fleur-de-lis is a clever play on St. Louis's French heritage, as well as it takes a treble clef and turns it into a fleur-de-lis sign.
Yep.
The STL insignia, again, looks very much like a treble clef. and I did read some commentary about it from the design firm. They wanted to find a way to do a classic STL design that didn't look like it was on a Cardinals ball cap, and I think that they've done a really good job with that. The river music, I mean, that's fine. It's a trumpet. It's got an arch, although, I mean, trumpet, it looks more like a bugle. But, it's got the arch and the riverfront. I mean, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I love the typography on the word marks, the St. Louis Blues, and then there's an alternate version that gives a little bit more style to the S and the L and the B. This is inspired by W.C. Handy's 1914 St. Louis Blues sheet music cover, which that's a wonderful little bit of it. I am still not sure how I feel about the blue. I mean, it's a much lighter blue than what they've been playing with. They've been playing with a dark royal blue, and this is something. It is, I would say, 3 or 4 shades darker than the San Diego / LA Chargers powder blue, which, by the way, LA, go back to those powder blue uniforms, please.
Time.
Those are some of the coolest uniforms that have ever been in the NFL, and I don't know why they keep wanting to change that. So here's the thing. The road sweaters that have the blue note on a field of white and then the blue and gold accents. I absolutely love the road uniforms. The road uniforms look fantastic.
Yeah, they do.
Can't say enough about them. For me, the jury is still out on the home blue uniforms. I don't dislike the new shade of blue that they have on them. I don't know. It just looks like an awful lot. There's not a whole lot on that blue sweater to interrupt it. The outline of the blue note on the front is the same color as the fabric in the back. So I mean, I don't hate it. I don't even dislike it. I'm just not sure about it yet. I think I really need to see the boys out on the ice in the home blues to have a better opinion about what that's going to look like. I do like the back of the home jerseys, the fact that they just have the big bold block numbers without any sort of outlines on them. The back of the jerseys look really good. I also want to compliment Colton Paracco. Am I pronouncing? I never feel like Paracco. Yeah, I never feel like I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Anyway, Colton was the model in the social media, and he just looks great. They couldn't have picked anyone better, I think, on the team to model the new sweaters. So anyway, that's my 14 cents. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
I was gonna ask. I was thinking while you were talking about the home sweaters, is it a little too much light blue for you?
I think it's not the color, because I think I'm a fan of blue. I mean, most of the clothes that I own are in the blue to purple palette, so I like the shade a lot. I think maybe I would have tried maybe a white outline on the blue note. I don't know. The front of the jerseys just looks like there's nothing to break up that sea of blue.
Now, I get that. Now, for me, first and foremost, I wasn't expecting a drastic change, simply because the Blues have never done anything too crazy. I mean, like what certain fans call the Gretzky whole year or half year, the clown sweaters. That's the most drastic thing we've ever done in terms of anything we've actually worn. If you want to see the ugliest concept sweaters of all time, look up the ones that were rumored that Mike Keenan wanted us to wear that had nothing but like that had bugle horns on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are that atrocity was rumored to be a Mike Keeney creation. Thankfully, it was refuted. These are very clean, and they feel, you know what? They kind of feel original six-ish.
Yes.
If you get my drift.
Yeah, yeah. I like the classic look to it, and again, you know, my attitude about the home sweaters is you know, it's B minus. You know, it just is. It's like, is that too much blue? And I really think it suffers in contrast to the road jerseys because the road jerseys are so striking. You know, you've got the blue and gold blue note against the white, and then you've got all of the striping and accent colors in the blue. They're fantastic, you know, really great. I should also add that they're the jerseys that they have been wearing previously with the royal blue will be kept as an alternate third jersey.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I'm glad to hear.
And I'll tell you what, and I'm probably different from a lot of Blues fans, but the sweater with the round insignia that says St. Louis Blues with the blue note in the center that they've been wearing as an alternate jersey, I really liked that. I thought that was a nice change of pace, so I don't know what's going to happen with those. We may have to get those from Royal Retros, right, Mike?
Well, I don't know if Royal Retros actually can sell for like teams that are currently playing.
Oh, you're right. Those are
those
defunct teams.
Yeah.
Well, at least I got a plug in for them other than your usual promo.
Maybe at some point from Royal Retros I can get an Atlanta Thrasher sweater, provided that they don't come back again, which right now Atlanta's a favorite for possible re-expansion again.
Yeah, let's go back to a market that failed miserably the first time. That's a great idea.
I'm not against it. There's a lot of different. That's another story for another day. But long story short, the Thrashers had a lot of things working against them that had nothing to do with on ice.
Well,
and it kind of stunk. But I digress. I've always had a soft spot for the Thrashers. But how about you put a team in Houston? Much bigger market. But no, these uniforms are absolutely sharp. The only nitpick, if I have any nitpick, is the fact that there's no border or no trim on the numbers.
Yeah, I agree.
That threw me off a little bit. It's something I've always been used to.
Yeah,
and
that's the part I actually like. The no trim on the no outline on the numbers. I think we're only one of 6 teams in the NHL that has numbers like that. I forget what the other ones are, but I think at least 2 or 3 of them are original 6 teams.
I know Detroit and Montreal don't do it.
Right, there you go.
But all in all, they're beautiful. The Blues have always had, since they became a franchise, they've always had some of the best uniforms head to toe in the league. Nothing ever too drastic, a very clean, sharp look. The logo feels very much like the expansion era, just slightly altered. Yeah. But I think these uniforms are going to be a huge hit with fans, and once we see the guys out on the ice actually moving around in them, then I think we'll get a better feel in game, and that might be a Christmas purchase for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think all in all, I think as far as whatever they want to call it, a reimagining and evolution. They're using a lot of marketing buzzwords. I think it's successful. I don't think that there's anything here too radical or too different that's really going to turn off the traditionalist fans.
No, and I think a lot of fans were getting a little bit too anxious and worried that it might be something like, dude, this isn't the 90s and we're not just all of a sudden going to start wearing eggplant and teal. Shout out to the Ducks and Sharks, but that's not what we do here.
Yeah.
Just chill. Which perfect timing for a unveiling of a new uniform, new sweater and logo, because the NHL draft is tomorrow night.
Oh wow! Well, that'll be something we'll have to bring Tuck on board to talk about that after that happens, because I think
there you go.
More
Thanks for
tuned
the
in
reminder,
with
Kyle.
yeah. I think one of the things I'm definitely going to be looking for is a blue ball cap with that treble clef STL design, hopefully in gold. Next time I'm in the city and come across a hat shop, I'm going to be looking out for that.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, I think that'd really be something. Well, speaking of drafts, the NBA had their draft, and the Dallas Mavericks, however they got the number one pick, picked the top prospect forward, Cooper Flagg, out of Duke. Beyond that, I have to yield my time to the two of you. So, Kyle, why don't you give us just a brief overview of the top picks and who you think did best in the first round?
I don't like giving this team credit, as they've been a pain in my butt since high school. But the San Antonio Spurs absolutely hit a home run in getting probably the most talented freshman scorer, pure scorer in the draft, in Dylan Harper, the son of five-time NBA champion Ron Harper. How old do you feel today? He went second overall and averaged 19 points per game as a true freshman. And there's another crazy thing. Rutgers had 2 top 5 picks despite going 15 and 17 last year.
Yeah. What the hell?
Simply because they didn't have enough depth, and Rutgers is a women's basketball school. They're not a football school. But for a Spurs team that needed a young perimeter scorer outside of De'Aaron Fox to go with Wemby, that they're officially going to be a problem now. And the Spurs very well could be a team that makes the top 6 in the Western Conference next year. So that was a huge win. And this was only a surprise to his camp, but Harper's teammate at Rutgers, Ace Bailey, went 5th to the Utah Jazz. Jazz finished with the worst record in the league and got the 5th pick in the lottery. So, again, wink, wink. But he's a 6'8" rangy scorer, and apparently his camp was not keen on him going to Utah. He passed over on 3 workouts with the Jazz. I guess they were looking to lean him towards a different organization, but he's going to be very happy there. Although the Jazz only won 17 games, they can absolutely score the ball. Defensively, they're just putrid last year, so he'll get to go play with Lauri Markkanen. The Jazz are always a very well-run organization, so I think they got an excellent steal. Duke had a big night for Duke. They had 3 players go in the top 10. Obviously, Cooper Flagg, number 1. Con Knuppel, his teammate out of Duke, probably the best catch-and-shoot guy in this draft. He went 4th to the Charlotte Hornets. This is their first draft without Jordan. The fact that I find it ironic that the Hornets took a Duke guy after the UNC guy steps out in management, because let's be honest, Jordan was a terrible executive.
Yes.
And he built the majority of these terrible rosters from back when they were the Bobcats. But this is a team that needed, help just about everywhere except point guard, and getting LaMelo Ball, a guy who can catch and shoot off of excellent feeds. He's probably the best pure passer in the NBA. So I'm a big fan of this one. His one weakness, he does not create his own shot well, but coming in, he definitely projects as kind of like a Klay Thompson type. He's a little smaller, but that's going to be a huge win. A lot of freshmen, one and dones, were in this draft. We didn't have any G League guys. There was only in the lottery, there was only one foreign player who did not play in college, which was Noah Esunge, 6'10" stretch forward that went 12th to the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, it was a more traditional draft in the sense of college players. Granted, you had Trey Johnson, who went 6th out of Texas, who went to the Washington Wizards, which is essentially like being banished to the shadow realm of the NBA these days. But he led all SEC freshmen in scoring at Texas. Again, he averaged 19 points per game, and that was and he was a tremendous scorer. And he's going to go to a team that just acquired C.J. McCollum, so we'll see how that works.
What do you
Zion
think?
Williamson.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
I was going to ask what you thought about the pick at number 16 going to the Portland Trailblazers, Yang Han-sin, a 7'1", 253-pound center from China.
What is horrifying about this kid's prospects? Number one, he goes to it, putting this guy potentially on the floor with Zach Edey. I beg your pardon. Here's what scares me is that his standing reach is 9'3".
I know that's
I'm
ridiculous.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean
that
he can just get on his tiptoes to dunk. It's unbelievable.
That is 111 human inches. What in the world? Taking a look at his analysis here. He is now he's got to work on his footwork, but usually, and he's the first round. He's only the second Chinese player to be drafted in the first round, first since 2007. So that's a huge one. But usually, players from overseas are usually a little thinner than he is. He has got a huge, I would say more of an early to mid 2000s NBA body as a big man.
Yeah.
Because you want to, and the fact that Memphis is a team that still likes to be able to bang and play big down low, and you get Edey and Zach Edey's 7'4", and he's pushing around like I want to say about 300.
Yeah.
He's a very intriguing prospect. Another one I'm a huge fan of because he was a fantastic scorer, had an amazing career at Florida. Walter Clayton Jr. going 18th. That pick originally belonged to the Wizards, but he goes 18th, and his draft price gets traded to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal scorer, and he went later. You know, as you tend to see, a lot of college players, especially 4-year guys, tend to go later because you kind of seen what they are. He could be an excellent six-man off the bench for the Utah Jazz, but given how bad they were, he'll definitely have an opportunity. Here's another one that makes me feel old, and I think he fits a great need as a late-round value pick. Jace Richardson, the son of Jason Richardson, going to the same team that his dad played for in the Orlando Magic. Orlando needs three-point shooting and playmaking badly. He comes in and he's an excellent long-range shooter. Despite his size of 6'1", but again, they're a team that was in dire need of backcourt playmakers because they were dead last in the league in assists, despite making the playoffs with the league's number 2 ranked defense. And their backcourt play was really, really atrocious. The wild card to me, and someone I'm going to really keep an eye on this year, is one of the. Let me say this slowly. 5 first-round draft picks of the Brooklyn Nets, an NBA record 5 first-round draft picks. But the kid I'm going to be keeping an eye on the most is Igor Demon at number 8, a 6'9" point guard out of BYU, Russian-born, who led all freshmen in assists. He averaged 5.5 assists as a freshman at BYU. But for a team that years ago sold off their entire future, basically to the Boston Celtics, it's good to see Brooklyn actually start to recoup and retool their roster because they're in dire need of bench and youth.
Yeah.
But Demon is 6'9", 200 pounds. He's a humongous playmaker and a guy who, I know it's comparable when you see 6'9" point guard. You always want to look at, someone similar to like a Penny Hardaway. He's a bit of a slower, not as explosive Penny Hardaway, but he's an excellent half-court guy. And in today's NBA, when it comes to spacing, floor spacing and ball movement, you need someone who can facilitate. He's not a great shooter, but you want that size and your ability to spread the floor and facilitate. All in all, if I had to say the biggest winner besides Dallas, the biggest winners of the night, Utah Jazz did very, very well. And again, it makes me puke. But the Spurs got an absolute steal or a winner in Dylan Harper, and that's and like I said, it's another thing of you've been seeing a lot of the players coming from the developmental G League instead of opting to go to college. But this year you had a lot more college players going in the top 10 and less emphasis on the domestic players.
Yeah.
But one more to keep an eye on. This is the third Duke player in the top 10. Kaman Malik, a 7'1" center out of Duke, going 10th to the Houston Rockets, who are already an outstanding defensive team. So they go and get another big man. And his story is amazing. He was discovered by Luol Deng on the side of a road. He had not played basketball until he was, I believe, 17 years old. And Luol Deng has done a great job building up the profile of youth basketball in his home country of the Sudan. And lo and behold, this young man is from South Sudan, plays 1 year at Duke, and he also has a 7'7" wingspan. Like, yeah, we'll take that and mold him. So his story is very amazing, and I'm always rooting for Duke guys. This draft basically screams draft young with higher ceiling potential.
Yeah.
So you may not see a lot of these kids step in immediately and play, and some of them may be on limited minutes this season, simply because you have so many one and done guys. But it's a big potential draft. Cooper Flagg is a whole different animal, and this is the quote I heard him say last night says everything about him and his mentality. And I've heard people compare him to Kevin Garnett, compare him to Larry Bird and Scottie Pippen and Kawhi Leonard. But his mom said, if you're the best player in the gym, you need to find a better gym. I love that mentality right there. I absolutely love that.
That's nice.
But that was round one. Round two, I believe, will be tonight.
Yep.
With Minnesota starting on the clock. For round two tonight. And of course, there have been several gems to come out of the second round of the NBA draft. And, great example, obviously, is the current best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic. Famously, his name came up on the draft during a Taco Bell commercial. I'm not even kidding.
The way he played this season, he might need to lay off the Taco Bell.
That's the reason why the Nuggets got bounced. That's not a Jokic issue by any means. They do not have the ability to get him any more help.
Yeah,
so that's the problem. He's in a place called stuck.
Well, and I think one of the things that we're going to see, probably not in the upcoming season, because they still got LeBron, they got Jokic, but the Buss family is selling off the Lakers.
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah, so I think, and I don't know the details of LeBron and Jokic's contracts. So I think if both of those contracts expire at the end of this season, I think they're going to move on from both of those players and go into full rebuild mode.
If the Nuggets don't get anything more out of him, or out of that team, because it's more so the team that's built around him. They can't get better with their current contract situation, and it's very clear that Luka is in LA to supplant LeBron.
Oh, and that's actually who I meant. I get those two Eastern European. Yeah, Jokic is in Dallas. I was thinking of Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm going to hoopshype.com. Shout out to them to pull up team salary and cap situations. Denver right now has the salary cap right now is at $154 million, and like a lot of teams, most everybody's over, and Denver is $29 million over the cap right now.
Yikes.
They have got to figure out some contracts right now. Jokic is up in 2029, and he's making $51 million right now, and his contract will peak in 2028 at $62.8 million.
Yeah, that's
I'll take a look at the Lakers
for a
here.
restructure. That's just begging for a restructure.
Yeah, LeBron's contract's up after next season.
Yeah, and I don't know. You gotta think LeBron will probably retire. after this.
No question. Where afterwards there's such a huge drop off in salary. I mean, Luka's contract is the remainder of his contract with Dallas, and he's up in 28. Where right now he has 2 years left. I just heard something in the background here. But Luka's got 2 years left on his deal at $45 and $48 million, and then the next highest paid player is Rudy Hachimura at $18.2 million. So once LeBron's off the books, the Lakers will have money to spend.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very, very key for moving forward. But all in all, like looking back on this draft, I was excited. I was very happy. And of course, yes, do I still believe that things were a little fugazi? Of course I do. Not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
But all in all, the Mavericks got themselves another centerpiece, and they really didn't have to lift a finger in the draft lottery to do so. And again, we had the second lowest odds, and somehow we jumped the 3 worst teams in the league in Washington, Denver, or Utah, and Charlotte.
And you know what? I'm not going to complain much about that because I've been a Dallas Mavericks fan since Kyle was in preschool, and I have memories of 1993 when we finished that season with the worst record in the NBA and had to win our last 2 games to not tie the record for the worst team ever, and had the odds to win the lottery. And instead, we not only did not get one of the top 3 picks and ended up picking 4th, but the Orlando Magic, who had the lowest odds of getting the top pick, got the top pick just 1 year after they had the number 1 pick and took Shaq. So you know what? I even though I don't think it was rigged, I'm not going to complain that we got that top pick because it is a big win for us. And it makes up for 93 when we got and every bit as shafted by the lottery as the Jazz did this year. And it even makes up for 1994 when we finished 13-69 and should have got the number 1 pick, but instead got the number 2 pick. I'm not complaining as much about that because we did get Jason Kidd, who ended up being a great pick and is now our coach. But I feel like in some ways it kind of evens out. And I'm excited for these guys because, you know, I was a Mavericks fan throughout the entire 1990s when we spent much of that time as the dregs of the league. I mean, there were a couple of years where we weren't bad. We were historically bottom of the basement eating cow chips bad.
I mean, yeah, you're not kidding because like growing up, the Mavericks were so irrelevant in the realm of the NBA. Like, you know, I always thought growing up, you know, they went hand in hand with me as growing up, there were certain NBA teams when you heard their name, you had to turn your head twice. Like, wait, they're still around, or they're a thing.
Yeah.
And the Mavericks were like that. There was them, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets in the latter half of the 90s. You know, they were just like, dang, y'all are a thing. The Wizards after they rebranded from the Bullets, because I'm looking at Dallas's records from 1990 to 1998 through 99. Their best record was 36-46.
Exactly.
Like, dear Lord. It's a shame because the franchise, generally in the 80s, they were really good, and then, we had the run, we traded for Dirk and everything like that. But this is very good for us, and now I still think the fans don't like Nico Harrison at all. Can't chalk me as one of them, but this does soften the wound a little bit. But as long as Cooper is able to deliver and bring the excitement, and it's going to help that he's going to enter the league with Kyrie Irving, that does not hurt at all. That's a huge bonus. So I think he's going to be a huge help. And honestly, I'll just go ahead and say it: Cooper Flag, NBA Rookie of the Year 25-26. And will we make the playoffs? I'm going to say no, but play in possibly. And I'm being honest with myself as a fan. that this team is probably about a 42 to 43 win team at best, because the Western Conference is pretty ludicrous this year.
Well, and
It'll be interesting.
If our normal listeners are wondering why we've spent about 25 minutes talking about the NBA, it's because the NFL training camps are still a month away. We have to live through 4 more weeks without any real news from the NFL. So we'll, Mike, get those guests on quickly. I don't know if I can stand another half an hour of talking basketball.
We are hoping to have some guests on the next few weeks, because there is not going to be much going on in the next month or so besides baseball, which, of course, this is the heart of Cardinals country, so that's a lot. But, it's a very quiet time. There's, off-season high school sports, but other than, the big sports, it's right now we're going to have this baseball. And before we wrap up, I do want to talk a little bit about the NBA Finals that wrapped up Sunday night with the Oklahoma City Thunder winning their first NBA championship as the Thunder, and the second in franchise history, because they won one as the Supersonics back in the late 70s. Guys, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the MVP award should have gone to Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles tendon for tearing in Game 7, because that completely changed the complexion of that game.
Man, seeing that pop was just awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm sure all the Oklahoma City fans are happy for that, and that Indiana is disappointed. But I just really hate to see one of the top players on either team go out like that, especially in a game. I mean, can you imagine like any of the Kansas City Chiefs close Super Bowl wins where you get into the fourth quarter and Kansas City's doing one of those legendary drives, and then Mahomes gets hit and he doesn't get back up, and they have to bring the stretcher and cart him off or anything. You never want to see a championship game end that way, and it was just it wouldn't necessarily have gone Indiana's way had Halliburton stayed in the game till the end, but when a player who means that much to you goes out, especially on the road, it's just a very disappointing thing to do. I don't think that diminishes the value of the Thunder's championship in any way, but boy, those Pacer fans are going to be asking themselves what if for a long time. And it also, coming this late, Halliburton's not going to be ready at the beginning of the season.
Not at all.
He may not show up until February or March of next year.
That makes such a world of difference. It's always that what if Hallie was 100%, and it was non-contact as well, and that's what makes it even worse. Once again, major shout out and congrats to Oklahoma City winning their official second NBA championship in quotations, but their first as the Oklahoma City Thunder. Adam Silver now go ahead and bring the Supersonics back. They got to bring the arena, make it happen.
Yes.
But again, OKC, and here's the scary thing. If you're the rest of the NBA, and especially the rest of the West, they're a super young basketball team, and they basically own the future of the Los Angeles Clippers, because the Clippers mortgaged their entire future by trading for Paul George and sending the now MVP of the NBA to the Thunder and a bunch of future first-round draft picks. So in the most Clippers way possible, they won somebody else an NBA championship. And Donald Sterling's not even in charge anymore, but it's still because they're the Clippers. With Indiana, what a beautiful, beautiful run. And for a generation of younger basketball fans who aren't used to the energy of what Indiana basketball is outside of the state, now you know. That atmosphere was magnificent. It really took me back to seeing the old Market Square Arena on fire with Reggie and Rick Smith and those guys. And and a really, really charmed time. But the question is, with the East, can the Pacers do it again next year? And without Halliburton going in, we're going to really see what that team and their mental makeup is, because the East is not going to be any fun. Now you still have to play and deal with the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics and teams upcoming like the Orlando Magic and so on and so forth. So we're going to see what it's all about. But major congrats, and finally someone in the state of Oklahoma won a championship at something. On the side, shout out to the Oklahoma softball team because they're god tier. But yes, are we making fun of OU football? Absolutely.
Every day, all day.
Hey, they're better than Texas, who's a natty contender this year. That's what I can't wait for, is to get into some college football talk. I'm super stoked for that.
Yeah, well, I got my first sign, despite the heat, that fall is literally around the corner. Driving home today on Elk Grove Road, I peered down into the bowl of Papa Buff Mules Stadium, and they had the Mules football team out in shorts and T-shirts running drills. I'm like, better you than me, boys.
Yeah, for sure. And I know around here, the boys over at Webb City High School and Carthage High School, they're out doing workouts at 4 a.m. No, thank you. Dear God, no. Could not.
Youth
will
is
not.
wasted on the
I'm
young,
fat.
I'm telling you.
But even when I was in high school, I'm like, nah, I'm straight. Like, that's too hot, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, super excited when the closer we're getting to college football season. Once the first preseason top 25 drops, I'm getting into it.
Yeah. Hey, on a slightly serious note, since we're talking about the heat, whether you're working in the yard or training for sports or just enjoying some time around the pool, please remember to have some shade nearby, use sunscreen, and hydrate. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke is no joke. These are dangerous temperatures, dangerous heat indexes. So if you're outside, please take precautions and be safe. We want you here for our next episode.
Absolutely. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, definitely stay cool, guys. And on that note, we are wrapping up this week's edition of the Sports Desk. Mike, Mark, and Kyle. I'm Mike Bueller.
I'm Mark Sanders.
And I'm Kyle Roberts.
And you have been listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.